Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing this, the 2024 Ineos Grenadier. And, well, the Ineos Grenadier is pretty much what a billionaire would imagine the original Land Rover Defender to be like in, well, 2026. And, well, that's pretty much exactly what this is, because the person who designed this car is actually a British billionaire. And he pretty much wanted to see if he could build his pretty much own reinterpretation of the original Land Rover Defender 110, and he actually got in contact with Land Rover themselves and asked them for the original patents and design filings for the original Defender 110, but they turned him down, and so instead of building an exact copy of the Defender 110, he, well, built this. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know about this car, from the specs, the design of the interior and exterior, so let's go. And, well, first and first, we have to talk about the engine, because this car is powered by a 3.0 liter twin turbocharged inline-six that, well, creates 332 horsepower and 228 pound-feet of torque. And, well, all that power goes through all four wheels via an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission to help this car drive, well, to 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds. And, well, to a top speed of, well, not extremely high, 99 miles an hour. And, well, the main reason why the top speed is relatively slow is because this thing is definitely not extremely aerodynamic. But then you have the most important thing, at least spec-wise for this car, which is the quarter mile. And, well, the quarter mile of this thing is 16.1 to 16.6 seconds at around 80 miles an hour. And as you guys might notice, the trap speed, which is pretty much the speed, the highest speed that the car goes between the stop and the quarter of a mile, well, that is 80 miles an hour because it's not extremely aerodynamic, and there's a lot of extra stuff on this car that isn't really helping with aerodynamic efficiency. But then, speaking of efficiency, I have to tell you guys what the MPG and the range is, because that is another thing that's extremely important, at least in the car world, because if you don't have good range or you don't have good MPG, then what's the point of your car? But, well, the MPG of this car is actually relatively good, stating, well, that this car definitely is not extremely aerodynamic. It's kind of like sharp, and it also reminds me of a Jeep, interestingly enough. But yeah, so, well, you have 15 MPG, which isn't exactly terrible, but it's not extremely great. And, well, actually, then you have quite good range. Surprisingly, your MPG is not necessarily too great. I mean, I guess you could say it's pretty good for this car, just because it's not an aerodynamic supercar. But, well, the range is even better, because this thing has a range of about 330 miles, so the range is quite good. I mean, compared to the MPG and, well, the range, both of those combined equals, well, a relatively good amount of driving that you could do in this thing before you have to refill it again. And so, well, pretty much I've told you guys everything you need to know about this car spec-wise, at least so far. Now, I need to tell you guys, at least you guys probably think I need to tell you guys just one more thing, which is the price. But it's actually not, because before I tell you guys the price, I need to tell you guys something that's way more interesting, because, well, we have to talk about the history. Even though this car hasn't been around for that long, well, you guys will definitely find the history quite entertaining. And, well, actually, interestingly enough, so the guy who started this company's name was Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's a billionaire Englishman, and, well, he pretty much decided to, well, create a spiritual successor to the original Land Rover Defender 110, and, well, actually, that's just what he did. He was actually the chairman of Ineos, one of the biggest chemical companies in the world, and, well, that's why this car company's name is Ineos. And, well, then, also, the reason why his name is Grenadier, really interestingly enough, is, well, because he came with the idea in a British pub in 2016 that was called the Grenadier. So, as you guys can see, he took a lot of inspiration from the things around him to name his car, because one, from a pub, and two, from the company that he was the chairman of. And, well, that's when he founded Ineos Automotive Ltd. It's pretty much supposed to be a no-nonsense, utilitarian, off-road car that's is just meant for off-roading. It's supposed to be a spiritual successor, a direct successor to the original Defender, but it doesn't have any Defender badging, because it's an Ineos. And well, actually, one interesting thing about this car compared to most other, let's say, Restomods, is that this might be considered a Restomod, but it's actually a completely new car. It has a steel ladder frame chassis like the Mercedes G-Wagon, and well, it's completely new. Nothing donor, nothing, anything like that from an old car. This is a completely new car. And well, then in 2018, well, the guy Jim got together 200 engineers and designers in Stuttgart, Germany, where Porsche actually is from, so that's another really interesting thing. But, well, he took together 200 designers and engineers in Stuttgart, Germany, and had them design the perfect off-roaders. They were inspired by icons like the Mercedes G-Wagon, Toyota Land Cruiser, and also maybe a little bit of Jeep. But, well, they pretty much created what they thought was the best version of the off-roader you could possibly get. But, well, then in 2019, Ineos actually teamed up with BMW because they had the B58 engine, which this car has, and there was the B57, I believe it was a diesel. And, well, BMW pretty much gave them the engine, so all these cars are powered by, well, BMW engines. Turbocharged BMW engines power these beasts. And so, yeah. Then, in, well, 2020, Ineos was actually planning to build their cars in Wales and Portugal, but instead, they actually started building their cars in France at, well, the original Smart Car factory. So if you guys don't know what the Smart Car is, go look it up. It's actually owned by Mercedes, the car company, and they pretty much make tiny 2- and sometimes 4-door, like, miniature SUVs, I guess you could say. So, yeah, they pretty much purchased their factory, Mercedes' factory, and, well, started building the car there. So that is also another really interesting thing. Then, also, another really cool thing is that, well, actually, all these cars went under, well, 1.1 million miles of prototype testing. So, these cars, not this exact car, but the prototypes of these cars went under over 1.1 million each. So that, well, is a lot of testing. Then, well, the final, pretty much, page of the Ineos chapter, at least so far, was when they revealed their Grenadier series in 2021 at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. So, well, that is pretty much the really interesting and really, well, quite cool history of the Ineos Grenadier. Now, all I have to tell you guys is, well, the price. Because, well, at least the Ineos Grenadier, this is called the Fieldmaster series. Some reasons you could tell is because, one, they have beautiful 18-inch alloy rims, and actually, this is supposed to be a more luxurious version of, well, the original Ineos, because the original Ineos Grenadier, which is called the Trailmaster, that's supposed to be more off-road and rugged, but this is supposed to focus more on Rolls-Royce style luxury and off-road use, but kind of it's supposed to be a mix. And, well, originally they start at $70,000 without tax, but, well, the Fieldmaster series is extra expensive. Not extra expensive, but just a little extra expensive. $16,000 more expensive, because this starts at $86,000, but this exact spec is, I believe, around $89,000 to $92,000 because of this beautiful blue trim. You have this nice, like, protector on the front, and yeah, you also have something really cool called Safari Windows, which has, like, little windows on the roof and, like, on the side. So yeah, that's also another cool thing. But anyways, now that I've told you guys pretty much everything you need to know about this car, from the specs and the history and pretty much everything that you need to know under the hood and from the past, now we need to check out the design of the interior and the exterior, and we'll see if it's as good as the original Land Rover Defender. And first thing first, I want to talk about the front of this car, because, well, it definitely looks really Land Rover-y, because it's pretty much inspired by Land Rover. It's just to look kind of like a Restomod, even though it's pretty much a completely new car. And, well, first, you have this nice Grenadier headlights here, and it's 3, like, kind of like stacked LEDs, which is quite interesting. And, of course, you also have your daytime running light there, a nice circular daytime running light right there. And then, also, one thing that you don't see much these days, at least, is this. So you have this humongous, I believe it's made of, like, titanium or something, but a really, really strong metal that they use. This is pretty much so if your car hits into something, that it protects the front of your car, even though this might get a little bent, but still, it protects your bodywork, so that is nice. It's nice front protector there. You have these are your fog lights here, which penetrate through fog, which is also quite nice. And it's nice how they're pretty much at the same level as the headlights, so it's just like the headlights, but headlights for the fog. And yeah, then you also have nice little air intake here, and you actually have 2 layers. Check this out. So you have your main, like, interesting. You have this main, like, plastic type of like layers here, and then behind it you have a honeycomb type of shape, and then behind that you actually have the real air intake that feeds air into that 3.0 liter BMW engine. And well, then also you have these interesting things. I'm not sure exactly if this is maybe for connecting stuff onto it or something, but you also have these interesting pieces here. You have some extra air intakes here as well, which is also quite nice. And this whole bumper, it's not a weak plastic bumper like most cars these days have, but this entire bumper is actually completely metal. So the bumper is seriously strong. And well, then you go up down here and you have some little like more open air intakes here and around there. And then you get even down here and you have more air intakes, so you have as much airflow to the engine as possible. And yeah, then you also have these nice hooks here, so if your car gets stuck, or if another car gets stuck, it could pull itself or you out of the mud, so that is also a nice little feature there. And, well, as you guys probably noticed already, this car is seriously tall. I mean, just look at this. Like, this hood is all the way up to here. This is probably the same height as a Bugatti Chiron, just the hood itself, so that is also quite interesting. And you also have your Ineos badge there, so that's the name of the company, Ineos Automotive, so you have that interesting little badge there. And actually, you have these as well, these little, like, plate looking things, actually just like on the original Defender. And yeah, so you have these cool little pieces here that were just like on the original Defender. Then you come to the side and you have these humongous rims. And probably you guys don't know, because you probably didn't even hear about Ineos before unless you own one. Well, this is the Fieldmaster trim, and what that pretty much means is it's more focused on luxury / off-roading than just off-roading, because the original Trailmaster trim, as it was called, well, that one pretty much just focuses on as much off-roading power as you could possibly have. So suspension shocks are bigger and everything is bigger and stronger, so that you could do as much off-roading as possible. But well, this trim, this is more focused on being able to off-road, but being more focused on luxury than off-roading. So you have these special rims, 18-inch rims here, and these are actually different than the regular Trailmaster, because these beautiful, I don't know how many spokes are on this thing, but really, like, probably like 20 spoke rims, nice rims there. You have 6 bolts on that thing right there. And yeah, so these rims are special only to the Fieldmaster series. You have these nice bolts coming all the way across here, which is also quite nice. Then you have these nice Bridgestone tires there, and you could just see how big these tires are. I believe they're around 32 inches, 31, 32 inches, because they're definitely quite big. And yeah, then you also have this nice, like, fender flare type of thing coming out of here, which makes it look a little more wide and a little more aggressive. And so yeah, that is also quite nice. Then, actually, a couple things I want to speak about just right here is this. So you actually have air outtakes right here. Usually a lot of cars don't have that unless they're performance cars or race cars, but this one actually has air outtakes, so air flows in straight through here and comes straight out of there. And the reason why is so that when air flows through here, it hits the tires and cools them off. Also the tires, the brakes, and the brake pads. And well, I mean, this isn't a performance car, so it's not 100% needed, but still, that is also a nice feature to have. And then you come to the side, you have some little fake air outtakes there. I don't know why you need those, but yeah, you have those little fake air outtakes there. You have a little blinker light there, and you actually have the British and the German flag. And the reason why is because the people who designed this car are actually Germans, and the guy, well, who built this car, who started the company, he is British. So you have the British / a German flag. Interesting. Then you also have this nice little air outtake here as well, and I don't know why you need the air outtakes here, but then, like, you have this fake air outtake pieces right here. It doesn't really make sense, but yeah, that is kind of interesting. Then you also have this nice little mud flap, and what that pretty much does, so when the mud comes off of the tires, it hits against here and just goes on the ground instead of falling all under the car or something like that. So that is also quite nice. And actually, one thing you guys might notice about this piece right here is that this is just like, one, the Mercedes G-Wagon, and two, the Jeep Wrangler. So that is also quite interesting. You have the same two bolt designs, so altogether there's 4 bolts holding the door together. I haven't seen someone take the whole door off yet, but that would actually kind of interesting. That'd be cool to see how it would look like that. But yeah, so you have that interesting like Jeep/G-Wagon type design. I mean, it was inspired by the G-Wagon, so no wonder. But then you also have these, which interestingly enough are like, they're kind of connectors. There's these little things. If you guys come over here, there's these. So these pretty much click onto here, and it lets you attach stuff like a gas canister. Let's say if you want a shovel or anything like that. So you pretty much go like this, put your finger like this, and then you kind of put it on here, press it in, and then wait for it to click in place. And then you could put 2 of those. Let's just put these on real quick and click those in place. And let's say you want to connect a shovel or anything like that, well, you just simply connect it on like that. And there's actually about like 15 to 20 of them they already have in the trunk, so that's actually really nice. Let's say you're going off-roading or something, you just attach your extra gas canister or anything like that to there, and well, there you go. And actually, you guys will probably notice that there's a lot of these throughout the car. There's some here, there's some here, there's some here, and there's actually some in the trunk as well, so you could tie down anything in your trunk. So that is also really cool and really innovative. Then you also have more right here. So let's say you want to attach a gas canister. You could attach those down and put a little net or something like that. So you could attach your gas canister down here. So that is also a really, really cool thing. And then, so you have this nice little door handle here. You kind of press this in. You don't actually pull the door handle out. You just press it in, and then you can just open it right up. So that's also quite nice. And then you look at the side view of this car, and it's definitely really square. No wonder the top speed's only about 99 miles an hour, because, well, the side view is not really aerodynamically efficient. I mean, here, we could hop up here, and you have this nice little sill here to keep off, let's say, rain or something like that, and then you actually step up here, and you have these cool little bars here, and I guess that's maybe for connecting stuff on or something like that. You have this, and then also you have these interesting little plugs here, which are actually pretty much powered, so the engine has a belt connected to it, and it drives the alternator, which creates electricity for the headlights, the interior, the screen, and also for these little plugs here, which I believe power the lights, like you would connect lights up to there and stuff like that, so that is also quite nice. Then you come back here, and you have more of these nice little connector things here. You have nice square window here, and then you also have the cool Ineos badge there. And actually, this is really cool because this is the fuel cap that is almost like hidden, kind of like, it's hard to tell at first sight because it just looks like another piece of the trim, but this is actually the fuel cap hidden right there. So that is another really cool feature there. Then you come to the back here, and this is where it starts to look a little different than the, well, original Defender. And, well, first you have huge Grenadier tire there. See, Grenadier badging here. With the key, you can just open this up and take the tire off. So let's say when your tires pops, well, you just have a backup tire right there. Then you also have these really interesting lights. I've never seen lights like this on a Defender, because obviously this is supposed to be kind of like a reinterpretation of the Defender, but not exactly a new version of it. So yeah, then you also have this nice reflector light here. You have your multi-layers of backup lights and stop lights and stuff like that, all integrated into that nice little circle there. Then you also have this, interesting enough. Check this out. So it's pretty much like a little air outtake, and the reason why is because, and actually, they actually took inspiration from the Mercedes G-Wagon, because one huge problem with the G-Wagons is that, well, this. So people would try to open up their G-Wagons, let's say. They'd open the door, and they'd try to close it up, right? But because there's so much pressure in the cabin, and there's no way for the air to escape, and before they didn't have this, at least on the G-Wagon, well, they'd close their door, and it kind of gets stuck like this. It wouldn't close all the way. And so Mercedes decided to invent this cool little piece right here that helps the door close a little better, but still the same problem is around today. But really nice that Ineos actually decided to integrate that into their car design as well, which of course is smart because the doors are pretty much identical to the G-Wagon. Then you could hop down here, and you have some nice little like pieces here, so that if you need to pull a car out of the mud or something like that, you have your tiny little exhaust there, and they're actually double exhaust, but they're really little. So yeah, that is also quite interesting. Then you also have your tow bolt right there, so you can connect up, let's say, your RV or trailer or something like that there. So that is also really cool. And then there's something that I think is really cool, which is this. You have an entire ladder connected to the back of your car. Not many cars these days have a ladder, but, well, let's actually test it out, speaking of. So, I'm gonna hop on here, and yeah, the ladder is pretty much built on so that you could access your roof, because you connect stuff like, let's say, a rooftop tent and other things up here, or you could also connect like a rack to put luggage or anything like that. But yeah, so that is also quite cool. So let's hop down, and yeah, the reason why it actually has the rear ladder is not just because Ineos thought it would be a cool feature, but actually because the original Land Rover Defender 110 also had this, and it was especially popular on safari cars because people wanted to, let's say, get on the roof and take photography or something like that. So that was also a really cool feature. Now, actually, let's open up this trunk, because that is also something that I really want to talk about, because it might look like the trunk opens up maybe just like upwards or to the side, and, well, it doesn't, because it's kind of like a Land Rover Defender type of door, but backwards. So you have to open up actually here, so just pop that in, and there's this little weird piece of door that comes out. I don't know why they designed it like this, but you have this little like piece of door right here that comes out, and then actually the way you open it up after this is you have to kind of reach around here and find another handle here, and so we pop that out all the way. So you actually have two separate, like 1/4 of a door and then half of a door combined. Strange, but still, it's also pretty cool. Then you also have your little half of a window and one half of a window right here as well. So yeah, that is also quite interesting. And actually, one thing I want to show you guys is this. Check this out. So it says, check this out, in case of assistance, accidents, flat tire, etc., don't forget your warning vest. And the reason why is, let's say you're changing your tire, well, you wear your warning vest and drivers could see because the light reflects off of you, especially at night. And so that is another cool thing that they have right here. I don't know why it's kind of hidden in the edge. Yeah, so that is also kind of strange, but still kind of interesting. Then you also have more connector-like things here, which is also quite nice. And actually, speaking of the connectors, they're actually kind of hidden away right there. So you have to kind of grab over here and, well, pretty much just pop this out, and they're pretty much hidden here. I don't know why there's not maybe like layers or something, but there's actually 2 layers, but not just for those. So hidden behind here, there's actually, well, a jack right there, which is also quite cool. It's actually not a lot of people are going to be looking like behind the 2 layers of doors for the jack, but still, it's nice that it's kind of hidden away, but still you could access it quite easily. So yeah, that is also quite nice. Now let's close this up and keep checking out this interior. And you also have this nice 12-volt charging port here, and you actually have more like connectors here. And pretty much like you connect, like, let's say a rope or like a net or something to hold your luggage down. Yeah, so I think we've checked out pretty much all of the trunk and exterior. Now let's just open up the hood before we hop inside. Yeah, so now let's open this thing up, and so open the door up. And actually, interestingly, the way you open up the trunk, or frunk, I guess you could say, is this. You pull it twice. You don't pull it once, you pull it once, then pull it again, and it pops it up all the way. So that is also quite interesting. Let's close this door off, and yeah, so open this hood, and this hood is way lighter than the Jeep Wrangler because it's way thinner as well. But yeah, so open this up, and you have to kind of do it with your left hand while holding it with your right, but let's put that in there and then lock it in place. So this is your 3.0 liter BMW B58 turbocharged engine, and so yeah, that is quite cool. You have your Grenadier lettering there, and actually, as you guys will see, it actually says powered by BMW, which is quite interesting. And, well, obviously it's true because this is not a specially made engine, it's just a regular BMW engine. And so yeah, that engine is quite cool. It's actually quite interesting how they managed to kind of squeeze it into these like tight quarters, because a lot of the time engines are like, the engine bay is all the way out to here, but this one, it's just like this tiny space, so they had to kind of push the engine under, closer to the driver and passenger than if it was just straight up forward. You have that cool engine right there. You have some of like the engine trim there, and actually you also have these cool little like springs here. And so yeah, then you also have your locks right there as well. And well, so far, just as in German fashion, everything so far about this car has been probably of the highest quality, because the engine bay, really nice. Design of the exterior, really nice. The wheels and tires are also seriously nice, and overall, I'm a huge fan of this car. So now let's check out the interior and see if it's just as good as this exterior and engine bay. Okay, so we checked out pretty much all of the engine bay, the exterior, and spec-wise. Now let's check out the interior and see if it's really cool. Okay, so now let's start checking out this interior. And first, I'm going to talk about this front dashboard, because it's really cool, like window switch type things here, which definitely look pretty cool. You could only turn them sideways, but they almost remind me of a Pagani, which is really cool. And you can turn them up or down, so that is quite nice. Then you also have this nice little handle here, so you could hold on to if you're going over huge bumps in the Safari. Then you also have this nice little glove box here, which isn't extremely spacious, but still it's quite nice. And you have also this little key here, interesting. So yeah, that is also quite cool. Let's close that up. And yeah, then you also have this nice trim here. And one thing I feel like is special about Ineos is that it's not that often that you see like a full-on brand new car company that just came like out of nowhere and they start making this like great cars. Like this car, it definitely is not disappointing because it is really nice. And yeah, then legroom is also like spread out a pretty good amount. Yeah, legroom is pretty good. You have a nice door handle here. I don't know what that's supposed to be for, but yeah, you have that little piece there. You have your window rollers, so yeah, that's also nice. You could have your door handle there. You have some speakers here as well, which also looks quite nice. And actually, you also have nice storage down here. You could definitely fit probably like 5 books in here. Like, yeah, it's pretty spacious, or like a couple water bottles. So yeah, that's also quite nice. And actually, one thing that's special about this car is that this car actually is completely washable. So everything pretty much is waterproof. You can literally wash down this entire car and it won't be ruined. The seats will not be ruined. The dashboard will not be ruined. Nothing will be ruined. So that is also really cool. And then you also have this window, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's like, let's see the driver's view. Yeah, I mean, it has a pretty good view at the driver's view. And then you also have a nice mirror there. You have different settings here, ESC. Oh, you have downhill mode, which pretty much slows down the car. And I'll talk about this more in a second, but look at how crazy this is. You have this really cool, it's almost like an airplane cockpit. And actually, if you guys check out my YouTube channel, Xaaron Reviews, with the link in the description, you could actually see that I did a review on a couple airplanes, and they actually remind me a lot of this interior, which is quite cool. And yeah, you have exterior lights, and one thing that's really cool, you don't turn on a lot of things just by the screen or by the wheel or something. A lot of it's actually controlled by this. You could actually lock the diffs, which pretty much makes it more stable and sends all power to all 4 wheels, or it sends more power to the front wheels or rear wheels. So that is also quite nice. And you can also see the specifications of the Grenadier right there, which are also quite nice. You have this peak thing here, and also water. Oh, so I guess you could, oh, okay, so off-road mode and then wading mode. So I guess you could go into pretty deep water as well. Then you also have this nice Grenadier badging there behind this nice metal trim. So that is also quite nice. And then you can turn on the interior lights. You can turn on the side lights with these buttons. I feel like I'm in a dang airplane, as cool as this thing is. And you can turn on all the lights in the interior with this simple button. Then you can also, oh, if you press this, that every time you open the doors, then the lights automatically come on. Then you have exterior lights. You can turn up the level of brightness. I've never seen that. Then you have AUX. You have all types of different things. And you also have this INT1, INT2. And I know a lot of these things is for like the winch and stuff like that. So that is also quite nice. You have all these different like modes here. It's actually kind of interesting. I have this like little piece of metal on the side. It's almost like in an airplane. So you have all these different settings and buttons here. It's kind of hard for regular people to understand them at first, but still, it's quite nice. Have all these shut offs and stuff like that. So yeah, that is also quite nice. Then you also have passenger airbag there. You have your nice mirror right here. And yeah, I want to talk about one thing that is seriously cool in a second, so stay tuned. But well, before that, you have also this nice little piece here as well, which is also quite nice. And well, it actually doesn't even have like a block or anything, but still, that is also quite cool. Then you also have this nice little piece here, like I talked about a second ago. And actually, let's start talking a little bit about the seats, because we haven't talked about them yet, but they don't hold you in place the best, because it's not like a race car, or a full-on race car at least. But well, yeah, they hold you in place relatively well. And let's test out these seat belts, because that also decides how good the car is. And whoa, okay, so these seat belts are seriously, seriously good. Oh yeah, these seatbelts, they're literally almost as good as Porsche seatbelts. Dang, okay, these seatbelts are seriously nice, like really nice. And then these, actually Recaro seats, so these are Recaro seats, not just regular seats, Recaro seats. That is quite cool. You have your nice headrests there, and it's nice how it's two trimmed, like gray and white, and yes, that is also quite nice. And actually, another thing I like about Ineos is that a lot of car companies these days, like at least new companies, they're all about going all electric and stuff like that. I mean, it's cool as well, but it's really rare these days that you see a new company that's actually focusing on staying like old school with the ICE engine or internal combustion engine. So yeah, that is also definitely really cool. And actually, before we start checking out any more of this in here, now let's check out the screen. So yeah, now we got the screen on, and let's see. You have a pretty simple looking screen. You have home, playlist, favorite, and you can see the speed you're going, your RPM. And the interesting thing is actually that you don't have a regular speedometer here, but it's actually, like you'd actually see it from the side view. You have these, like when you're in like lock diff mode, like if your front diffs are locked or something like that, then it shows you. So that is also really cool. And yeah, so you have all those different settings there, but then you actually see the speed you're going here. You see your RPM, and it goes all the way up to 7,000 RPM, which is quite cool. You have the gear you're in, fuel, temperature, miles, and remaining range. Then you have, of course, home, the outside temperature, and stuff like that. The altitude, so to actually show you what your altitude is, really cool. And then you can go to off-road mode, which is taking a second, but yeah, you have attitude. What the? Okay, that's interesting. So I don't know how you're supposed to go to those, but let's see. You have phone, audio, you have device. I'm actually surprised you don't have like Google Maps or something, but you have general here, language, unit, time, date, and everything like that. And you have communication, acoustic settings. But yeah, I wonder how you get to that right there. Interesting. Maybe. Oh, okay. So you could also control it via here. So strange. Okay, so you could go to options, home, back, audio, favorites, and an off-road. So let's see what the off-road mode is. I don't exactly know why it's not really working, but maybe you have to be like the car has to be completely on, but still that is also quite cool. Then you have device, you have settings. It's kind of hard to reach right there though, because like you have to kind of be like this. But yeah, so that's kind of nice. You have Sirius XM, Pathfinder file transfer. I'm not sure what that means, but sounds interesting. Let's actually check that out. So HDD, USB-A, USB-C. So I guess there's USBs here, and then you can also see the direction I'm pointing, east, like northeast, but more towards east. Interesting. You can see your altitude, the temperature, and yeah, so that's really cool. And so we've checked out pretty much all of that cool little screen there. Really simple and really easy to use. And yeah, then you also have this nice little, it goes directly here, so you can make it look like the grills of a Ferrari Testarossa if it's like this, or you can just move it around there. So that is also quite cool and quite interesting there. You have seat heating, audio, temperature. You have window demist. So you could demist the front and rear windows, climate control, AC recirculation, hazard warning. So that button is actually for, let's say, the tire pops or something like that. Then actually just press hazard, and all your lights are like zzz, 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 like flashing like that. So that's also quite nice. Then you also have start and stop. That's actually for all your like electrical. You have park assist, high, lock, and low there, which is also quite cool. You have your nice transmission there, your ZF transmission there with reverse, neutral, drive, park, and you actually have a manual type mode, which you could actually go upwards for minus and backwards for plus, which is quite cool. Then, of course, you have your little controller thing there. And this nice little cup holders here as well, which is also quite cool. And yeah, so overall, this interior so far, it's really nice how they tried to make it like feel like the interior of a plane kinda, but also kind of make it look like almost like a tank almost. So that's also really cool. Speaking of cool, at least, now let's check out the thing I've been wanting to tell you guys ever since the start, which is directly above me. Because if you look up, you guys might notice this. There is this really cool thing. It's actually called Safari Windows, where you could pop it forward and push it up, and it opens these really cool windows. You just pop it up like that, and so you have a little view out of the window around you, kind of like a tank almost, which is quite cool. But yeah, you would get some nice breeze, and actually headroom is also way better in this thing, because if you just sit forward a little bit, you have a lot of headroom compared to when it's closed up. So that is also a really cool thing. You actually have it on both passenger and driver side, so that is also even cooler. So let's keep checking out this interior. One, you have this nice little armrest here, and you could pop it open. You could actually lock it, which is really cool, so it's like a mini safe almost. And then you have a nice little storage area here. You have different, so you have USB-C here and USB, so that is quite nice. And you close that up, and you have 12-volt charger there, which is also quite cool. And yeah, so you have this nice little simple interior. And overall, this interior, I'm really loving this interior, because not extremely like overloaded with screens and stuff, but it's just like perfect the way they fuse like the old school and the new school. So that is also quite nice. Then you also have your nice handbrake there as well. You have, let's see, what is this? Oh, so it says Grenadier right there as well, which is also quite nice. And you have your set speeds. You could do, what is that? It says taut. I don't know what taut means, but a little button there, it says taut. Interesting. And you have volume. Okay. You have nice Grenadier badge there as well, which is also quite nice. And yeah, I actually like how this is completely circle. Like this steering wheel is just completely circle. No extra hard like shapes or anything like that. It's just perfect circle, which is also quite nice. And yeah, then you also have your blinker light there, and also your window washer controls when you wash your windows. You have this turns on your light and stuff like that. And yeah, then you also have your brake pedal. And actually, before we check out the back seats, I want to show you guys just one more thing, which is the key, because, well, let's check it out. And well, this is pretty much what it looks like. So this is it. Simple, cool little key. And actually folds away. Actually, interesting, just like a Jeep. So you could fold it away. You could just push it away, like you press this in, fold it away, and it's hidden away, which is really quite cool. So you could just fit it in your pocket easily. Then you also have this nice Grenadier button, or just a badge here. You have lock, unlock, and it's really simple. Then you just press this. So that is also quite nice. So let's put that down. And so I think we've checked out pretty much all of these really cool front seats. Now let's hop in the back seats and see if they're just as cool. But yeah, so that front seats was really cool, and the exterior. Now let's check out this interior, or at least the back seats of it. And you have this nice little thing here. If you guys are wondering what this is for, this is actually so you have extra knee space. So let's say my knees are pushed against here, well, or at least there, even though I'd have to be really, really, really long-legged to do that. Well, if you put your legs against here, you have extra space, like pushing into the seat almost, that you have as best knee room as you possibly can. And just sitting regularly, my knee and leg room is really good. Like a foot of knee room, a great amount of leg room. I mean, well, foot room is, it's not the greatest, but still, it's quite nice. You could stretch out like this, and yeah, so overall, these back seats are definitely really nice. You have loads of space to move around and sit around, and these seats are actually more comfortable than the front seats, interestingly enough. Probably because the back seats, or at least the front seats, have this thing here, but still, the back seats are also really nice and comfortable. Then you also have your nice door handle there, some nice white trim, another door handle, a little window switch there, and then you have nice little speakers. And then also down here, you have a actually quite deep storage area. So it goes in quite deep, but yeah, so you have a nice little storage area there, and view of the window is also quite nice. And yeah, then I believe this is also like one of those little areas where you could hang your hoodie or something like that, so that is also pretty cool. You have a little grabber handle here, and actually you could put like a long pole between here and hang, let's say, your suit or something like that between there, so that is also quite nice. Then you also have your nice AC here. You could turn it up or turn it more down, because that means down and that means up, which is also quite nice. Then you have USB-C and USB chargers there. Let's close it up, and you actually have a nice little logo, so you know exactly which one is which. The only thing I kind of wish for is a little more storage, like maybe right here, but still, it's nice that you have extra knee room, so I guess it's a win-win for everybody. So, now top of these middle seats, and, well, it's definitely... Okay, so these middle seats, it doesn't have an armrest in the center, so... Okay, so these are the most comfortable middle seats I've ever been in. Yeah, I could push back, relax. My foot room, like, I could just spread out like this. Obviously, I couldn't put my feet like that. That's a little uncomfortable, but if I just put my feet like this, I have a great amount of knee room, great amount of leg room, and also you can lift these up if you need to, the headrest, and yeah, so this is seriously nice. So yeah, that is also quite nice. And actually, let's check out these, which is the seatbelts. Let's see how the seatbelts are in this middle seat. So clicking in place, and the seatbelt is also quite nice in the middle seat, actually. So there's a lot of really good engineering, I feel like, in this car. I mean, it's actually really nice, like seriously nice, especially like that it's a new brand and their cars are already this nice. That's quite shocking. Yeah, so they have a nice there's nice seat belts. And so let's just talk about one more thing before we hop out in near the end of our video. And well, you have these nice little lights here. You go touch them at the same time, turn them both on at the same time. It actually has little like diamonds in them, almost interesting, but also quite cool. So yeah, I think we've checked out pretty much all of the front seats, the back seats, the spec, the exterior, and the interior. Now it's about and near the end of our video, and actually also stay tuned because I'm going to be rating this car how good I think it is. Okay, so I hope you guys like this video. Remember to like and subscribe, Xaaron Reviews, and actually let me rate this thing before we near the end of our video, because, well, I give this car a rating of, let's see, I'd say 8.8, because this car looks good, it's relatively fast, and it's definitely seriously comfortable, so I'd say 8.8 to 9.0. So, I hope you guys like this video. Remember to like and subscribe, Xaaron Views, and also check out X and Instagram, where I post some of the coolest car news and car photography that I know. So, I'll see you guys later.